Hello. Before we get into the third chapter of Esther, what did you say, Ross?
I mean, it's not even on.
Yeah, I was going to be right with you.
Here, I got you.
Before we get into the third chapter of Esther, let's do a little recap on the first two. So, Andy, you want to take us through that?
No.
No? All right, Andy. Andy said no. Appreciate you, Andy. I love it. Yeah, I ain't about to do it, he said. All right, so anyway, how does Esther open up? What's going on? Where are we at? Who's the king? Anybody remember the king's name?
Xerxes.
Not
Xerxes.
right. Very good. You gotta get loud. I'm telling you,
Oh,
my
is that
head's-
not loud enough?
Yeah. Xerxes, that's it. All right. So, in the first chapter, we have a party going on. Remember the big party? I mean, this is the party to end all parties. We got 6 months of partying, right? And that's with the nobles. Now, listen. Let me ask you all a question. If I said, hey, let's have a party for 6 months. But we're just going to do, I don't. 6 months is a long time to do anything, right? Even if it is fun and games and all that. Oh, she says, no, I will not. So now we got a problem. The king's got to make an example of her. Now, was Vashti a beautiful woman? Yes. She was very beautiful, wasn't she? So we got to make an example out of her. So how are we going to do that, guys? We'll just kill her? It's a thought. We could just kill her, but she's so cute. She's so adorable. How are we going to put something that cute to death, right? So we decide we'll just banish her. She just won't be queen anymore. She's gone, right? And now we got another problem because a few weeks later, King Xerxes gets the urge to what? He has some remorse because his queen's gone. He's alone, right? Remember? So he says to his eunuch that he's lonely and maybe even talks a little bit about maybe has some regrets over what he did to Queen Vashti. Possibly, right? So, but the eunuch comes up with a great idea. And what's that idea?
Get another wife.
Get another wife. And now how are we going to do that? This guy is over. I think I told you, if you looked at a modern day map, you've got Turkey and then you've got Israel. From Israel to Turkey, this guy was king of all that land. That land mass is enormous. You know how many different languages that took in? At least 4 or 5. All right, so we have not only a communication issue, but we also have all this land that we have to patrol. Now, how do we do that? Just out of curiosity. What do we do?
Send out governors.
That's exactly right. Or, and I love saying this word, it sounds like sand trap, but it's satrap. I spent a lot of time when I used to play golf, and if the course had sand trap, I was in, and never got good at getting out of it either. But anyway, they would appoint people to be over it. But when the king made a proclamation, he made it in whose language?
Everybody's what?
He would make it in his language, and then it would be translated to everybody else's on down the line. So let me ask you this. If I commanded, let's say I was a king, and I made a command, and have you ever played the telephone game? Isn't that the funnest game? I always think about this. All right, so we start with the king. He makes this thing, but he does something that's a little unusual, a little different than the telephone game. What does he do when he makes a edict or a law or a command? What does he do? He has something that's kind of cool. He seals it with what? He has his ring. So when you get that, if you're a governor or a satrap, I like to say, if you're one of those guys, when you open it or you see the seal, you know that it's a direct order from the king. Now here's where the problem becomes. Is after I open that and I read the proclamation, what if I wasn't fluent in Spanish and it came to me in Spanish? Do you think I could recognize a few of the words and kind of get the gist of what's going on? But do you think I could miss the true meaning of it? Absolutely, right? So think about how difficult this was to pass through the land. Be very difficult, would it? What, don't you think? Communication would be an issue. But in this, what we're going to do, we're going to round up all the most beautiful virgins in all of these lands, and we're going to bring them back. And now I'm going to get to choose who I want, okay, as the king. But there's going to be some preparation to this. And what's that preparation entail? Anybody remember?
For the women?
Yeah.
Beauty treatment?
About a
For a
year.
year.
About a year of just being pampered, getting pretty, and getting ready to go to the king. Now, when you went to the king, what did that entail? I mean, don't nobody get nasty.
What else can you find? You were presented to the king and he either chose you or he chose to send you elsewhere, which ruined you either way.
Right. If he, well, okay, so you would be presented to the king and then the king would have his way. Is that a good way? I think that's a good way to say it. The king would have his way. Whether or not he went all the way, that was up to the king. But if he wanted to go all the way, the king would go all the way. And then he would decide whether or not you were going to be it. If you weren't, if he said, nah, you're done. Now guess what you are? Angela said it.
Outcast.
You are ruined. You are no longer eligible, and nobody's going to want you now because you've lost your innocence. Okay? So you're now ruined. Which takes us to the guards. I'm not there yet. Okay, so we go through this process, and there's a girl who is a Jewish girl. Now, again, remember, the Jews have been scattered throughout all this land, okay? God has scattered them like the wind. He's put them everywhere. So you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of landmass that has Jews just tucked here and there and here and there. They're all scattered, okay? But there's this Jewish girl who is raised by her uncle. All right. Okay, so she's raised by him. Does anybody know his name? Mordecai. Very good. All right, so Mordecai raises this beautiful woman. The Bible says something really cool about her. She was what? Beautiful in form and what?
Spirit.
Huh?
Spirit?
Oh, I don't think it says spirit. She, let's see, I'll have to look it up. But I know it's form. I remember that one stuck in my head. Form.
Had a lovely figure and was beautiful.
All right, and beauty. So she's beautiful and she's built. All right, so he decides this would be a good thing for her to do. Now, I thought about this. Have you thought about this? If your uncle says, I think you ought to go to the king, let him have his way with you, and maybe he'll pick you as his queen. Is that a good uncle? It really isn't, is it? I don't think so. And the reason I think that is true is because he goes to the palace and paces every day to just listen and find out what's going on. But now here's the thing that we got to understand. God had his hand in this as well. Okay? But I don't think that we can necessarily say, oh, Mordecai was a great guy. He was really looking out for Esther. I don't think he was, honestly. I would think if you were really protective of somebody, you'd want to keep them far away from that mess as you could, wouldn't you?
But maybe he did it for the prestige.
Well, maybe God put it on his heart to deliver Esther because God knew what she was going to be needed for a time such as this, right? And here's the thing: if Esther's not there, the Jews get decimated. So we got to take that into consideration. But at the same time, it would still be a very difficult thing if you're Mordecai. I just don't want us to skim across the fact that Mordecai did what he, everything that Mordecai did there was just perfect and great, because it wasn't. He either did it because God led him to do it, which I do believe God did lead him to do it. But he also had, because he protected her his whole life, he had to let go of her. And then you see him at the palace every day, checking and making sure she's okay. so you know how much he cared about her.
God can use wrong motives to accomplish his ultimate purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see that all the time. We see that over and over. See it in your own life. Do you not? I mean, how many times you got yourself in a pickle and then God sometimes turns that and it works out for you? It's not because God loves you and wants you to, well, God doesn't take your bad decisions and say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. God takes your bad decision and says, let's work this so that I can get some glory from it. You know, and because I think one of the things that we have to understand is that God can use anything or anybody to his benefit. Example, there was a woman, this woman prayed every day. She prayed every day, and one day she was praying, and she was praying loud for God. She didn't have any money for groceries. And she was praying, God, please, I need groceries. I'm starving. I know you'll provide. I know you'll provide. Well, there was this atheist guy out there trimming her bushes. You all have probably heard this, but he says, well, I'm just going to show her there's no God. So he goes and he buys her all these groceries, knocks on her door, and says, hey, I heard you needed some groceries. And he said, she looked at him and said, oh, thank you, God. And he said, it wasn't God, it was me. And she said, oh, thank you, God, for using the devil to supply my need. So God can definitely use those situations and does. Another thing about Esther in this situation is Esther, I don't see Esther having a say in any of this. I don't see anywhere it tells me that Mordecai sat her down and said, would you like to do this? What do you think about this? Esther, you're very pretty. You're built like crazy. I think you got a shot at being queen. Do you want to do this? It didn't happen that way. Mordecai said, hey, pack a bag. We're going to the castle. And good luck. I mean, that was basically what happened. Well, she immediately finds favor with who? The eunuch, the chief one, the ones over everything. She gets special treatment right off the bat. So I want you to think about Joseph. Let's think about Joseph's situation. When Joseph was put in different slavery and all the different situations, how God shined on him in every one of those. Even in prison, he found favor with everybody that came in contact with him. Same thing as Esther. Esther finds favor with the most powerful person that she comes in contact with. The one that can make her actually look a little better, smell a little better, give her tips on how to do certain things, how to please the king, things to say, things to do, ways to walk, all that stuff. My Fair Lady, does that sound familiar to anybody? That's what we're thinking about here, okay? If you've not seen that movie, you need to. But that's what we're going to take this girl who was raised by her uncle who knows nothing, I would guarantee you, knows nothing about being beautiful. Right? Wouldn't you agree with that? Because I had 3 daughters, and trust me, if their mom hadn't been there to do their hair, guess what happened? They went just the way they were. Because I didn't do it. Although I did learn how to braid hair eventually. But that was from being a softball coach more than a dad, but maybe a little both. So anyway, as we continue to go through here, Mordecai's standing outside the gate, right? He's standing out there every day. And the king has made his choice. Who did he choose? Esther. Esther's the queen now. And so Mordecai is still checking on Esther every single day. He walks by, he's pacing, he's doing all these things, and he hears of this conspiracy to kill the king. By who? Who else? But 2 guards that are sitting there, they're going to go. They're going to have an uprising and kill King Xerxes. Well, he gets word, Mordecai gets word to Esther that this is going to happen. Tell the king, be ready. And the king says, we need to investigate this, investigates it, finds out that it's true, and that solidifies Esther as queen. But now we got to remember what just happened. Mordecai told Esther, and Esther told the king. We'll need to save that up for a couple chapters. I want you to kind of make a little note of that in your mind. And now that leads us to my favorite chapter of the whole book of Esther. This is my favorite. And there's a thing about this chapter that when we look at it the way I want to look at it, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to how it applies to us. All right? Is there anybody in here who would admit to being greedy? Anybody?
Like never.
Nobody? Oh, you're greedy?
Never.
Well, God bless you.
Nobody would
Appreciate
never,
it.
ever.
The rest of us next week will be talking about lying and denying. Okay? All right, Jenny, you can miss next week, all right? Because you owned it. All right, so let me ask you this. We all feel like we're probably not really driven by greed. And when we think about greed, we think about people that would maybe murder people for money or step on other people and do different things to get ahead. Well, you're not as ungreedy, if I can use that word, as you think you are. And I'll give you an example. All right? Paula, what's wrong? You look like you ate a canary. She's trying to hold her mouth like, what do you think about that, Bros? Huh? All right, so here's my example of greed. All right, think about the hungriest you've ever been in your life. And I'm not talking about a hunger, I'm just talking about a normal hunger. You haven't eaten in all day, and you're starving. And you know, sometimes you can not eat all day and not be starving, but then there's sometimes that you're starving. And you're willing to elbow, kick, whatever you have to do to get your food. Somebody's dying if you're hungry and you can't get food. Anybody like that in here? All right, a few people. All right. We call that hangry. No, absolutely. You can't think of anything. You can't do anything until you get something in your belly, right? Does that resonate with anybody in this room? A few? All right. So, now what drives that feeling is the greed that I'm getting ready to talk about. All right? The thing that you would sell your birthright for a bowl of soup. That type of hunger. And it's important to understand that because here's what happens, okay? We have that first level of greed where it's just like, well, they won't know if I took 2 pieces of chicken tonight. She was looking over there. All right? That's that little level of greed. The second level of greed is this. Well, I don't care if they saw me or not. I'm taking 3 pieces of chicken because I'm hungry. All right? Now, that's the next level. But now here's the level. I don't care if another person behind me gets 1 gram of food tonight. I'm eating what I want. All right? Now, that's where it really starts to get bad, right? Now, has anybody experienced that type of greed? And I can change that to money. I can change that to other things in our lives where nobody else matters but me.
Sometimes you get mad when somebody takes the last piece of pizza or something, you're one of it.
Right. Or if you were in a big family growing up, somebody always got the last biscuit, probably an older brother. I didn't have one, but my sister hates my guts to this day over that biscuit. My dad would tell the story because he came from a big family and he was one of like 5 boys, and it was absolutely a fist fight for the bread because there was only so much, and they would, it would get ugly. But I'm talking, I mean, this is the type of greed, and we're going to see that in chapter 3. And I want you to understand what's driving this, okay? So let me start reading some, and then we'll talk about it. So chapter 3, after these events, and the events that he's talking about here, or the author's talking about, was the events of Mordecai letting Esther know that there was going to be an uprising against the king. King Xerxes honored Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, elevating him and giving him a seat of honor higher than that of all the other nobles. Now, do we know why Haman was elevated?
What was it? Because he had the idea of how to get his new queen?
Nope. I don't think that's it.
No, what it says.
I don't think it didn't say, did it?
It doesn't say, but
It
there's
just
a
kinda
reason
like came
for it.
out of nowhere.
There's a reason for it. It does come out of nowhere, but there's a reason for it. Understand that the king just didn't one day decide, I'm going to elevate this guy, Haman, to be high. What do you think? What do you think? What we just read going into chapter 3, what do you think Haman may or may not have done to get this elevation?
Gave him the information, okay?
Yeah, I want to go back here. I want to go back up to chapter 2, and I want to go to verse 23. And when the report was investigated and found to be true, the two officials were hanged on a gallows. All right, so do you think Haman may have had something to do with that investigation?
Probably.
Probably did, didn't he? That's probably why he gets elevated. And I think the author just assumed we would assume that. But that's why he gets elevated. I just can't in my mind believe that this king is just going to elevate somebody to this type of position without a reason.
You think he was replacing the ones that, you know what I mean?
I think when the he was probably down on the food chain, and he probably investigated it and took the report to the king.
That would make sense because he said that is said right after that says after it was found they impaled him, and then it says after these events he was elevated. So
and
he
it was
probably
his-
did have something to do with it.
Yeah, I
And
think
we know it was his character because what
you're
he
going to
did
see.
later.
We're going to see. Now, Haman, I love the name Haman. Does anybody have a kid named Haman? No? Well, I don't know why. I like Hamer and I like Haman. Either one. And so if somebody wants to use that name for their son, I think you probably are crazy. But do whatever you want, right? All right. So he gets elevated to a seat of honor higher than that of all the other nobles. All the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to Haman, for the king had commanded this concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor. Now why? I'll go back again. Why in the world did this guy deserve honor?
Because he was second in command.
Now, and not only that, but the king himself proclaims, you see this guy drop on a knee and pay him honor. He didn't get that for just no reason. So that even solidifies more what my theory that Haman was in the middle of this investigation and probably found out what had happened. But Haman has an ulterior motive. What do we know? We don't know a lot about Haman yet. But pay attention. Pay attention to how Haman responds. The king gives this edict. Everybody bow down and give Haman honor. Okay? But Mordecai says what? Nope. I will not bow down to a man. I'll only bow down to my God. I will not bow down to a man. Now, let me ask you this question. Would God have had a problem for Haman to bow down and just give the guy honor? Would that have been against one of God's laws at the time? That's not a trick question. It really isn't. What do you
I
think?
would think so.
You think so? All right. Anybody take the other stance on this?
Paying honor and worshiping is two different things.
Yeah, it wasn't a worship. It was a kneel down because you respect the guy that's there and giving him honor for that.
Maybe shake his hand, but no.
Yeah, all right. Still not. We're not convincing her yet.
No.
Let's keep going. Come on, we can do it. All right. So this wasn't like kneeling down and worshiping a idol or a god. This was simply, the king said, bow down and give this guy the honor he deserves. Haman says no. Who's more prideful? Haman? Not Mordecai or Haman? Mordecai said no. Haman's getting inflamed over it. Who's more prideful?
Haman.
Haman.
Haman, you think? Okay. Why?
Because his attitude over one guy.
Huh?
Because his attitude over one guy, but it's not just one guy. His attitude over a whole group of people.
Well, he's going to take it out on a whole group of
Yeah.
people. Here's the thing that you have to understand too. If you're in the position, like let's say you're president of the United States, and you go to a outing, and you're shaking hands, and some person turns their back and won't shake your hand. Now, are you going to find out who you're going to find out who that person belongs to? Wipe out him, his family, their family, and on down the line until there's no trace, that you were ever on this earth. Probably, I mean, you got no. That's not going to happen. But Haman, instead of enjoying the honor that's been bestowed upon him, he gets caught up. He's going to choke on the gnat. He is going to choke on the gnat, and it's going to end up costing him everything. This is the greed that I'm telling you about. Then the royal officials at the king gate asked Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the king's command?" Day after day they spoke to him, but he refused to comply. Therefore they told Haman about it, to see whether Mordecai's behavior would be tolerated, for he had told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor, he was enraged. Yet having learned who Mordecai's people were, he scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. So basically, guys, understand this. We could have been completely, the Jews could have been decimated here, okay? They would have been wiped off the face of the earth. That's the greed that I see with Haman. He could have had Mordecai put to death without any issue. As a matter of fact, that wouldn't have even had to go through the king. Mordecai could have said, "Kill him," and he would have been killed. Just like that. But now Mordecai says, "Nah, I don't want to just kill him. I want to kill every person." I'm doing it again, ain't I? I'm sorry. I get this mixed up. There's too many names. All right. Haman gets so tore up about Mordecai that he doesn't just want to kill Mordecai. He wants to wipe his people off. His nationality. Not just his family, but his nationality. Here's where the problem, when you get greedy like Haman is here, the problem is you lose sight and focus on what's important. Okay? So Haman has no idea who Queen Esther is. Couldn't have a clue, right? Doesn't have a clue. But he just knows that Mordecai needs, and all his people need to be wiped off. Because if Mordecai won't bow, then nobody else would bow. Now, that greed exceeds anything I have ever seen. I mean, think about it. He is going to destroy himself over the fact that one guy would simply not bow down and pay him honor. One guy. Forget about all the other thousands that did. One guy. If he's not going to do it, then we're going to wipe out his people.
But he didn't like the Jews anyway, Haman did, from like many generations past and stuff, because of their different beliefs and culture and stuff either, did he?
Yeah, and I'm not even sure by what I've read and what I've studied that Haman even knew who the Jewish people were, that he knew anything about them in particular. He just knew that they were scattered throughout.
Then they were, their beliefs and things were different. from
Yeah,
theirs.
and number one, he gauged every one of those Jewish people off of Mordecai's behavior. He based everything off the fact that Mordecai wouldn't bow down. What do you think about that? I mean, seriously, I mean, and to go back to the point that I was making earlier, no, I do not believe that God would have held it against Mordecai if he just simply bowed down. I believe just doing what the king ordered there, I don't think that God would have struck Mordecai down and killed him. But Mordecai did take a stand. Now, the scripture doesn't really say why Mordecai chose not to do that. It didn't say that Mordecai looked and said, I only bow to my God. I would like to have seen that. But then again, we'd have to have the word God in Esther, and that's not allowed in Esther, right? But wouldn't you have liked to have seen something like that? Because in my mind, Mordecai is teetering on the same area as Haman. If Mordecai, just for a pure spite, said, no, I'm the one. Now think about this. Haman investigated it, but if it wasn't for me, the king would be dead right now. See, that's a very prideful thought.
But now, at this point, does the king know it was Mordecai that told Esther?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
And you're running the story. Can you just hold on another chapter or two? Gosh.
I studied.
Well,
Hey, are you gonna make a correlation with Haman and anything in the past?
well, you can. Go ahead.
Well, are you? I don't want to say anything.
No,
you're gonna
go
do.
ahead.
Well, I'm thinking that Mordecai knows that Haman is an Agagite, which came from King Agag, who was an Amalekite. God told Saul to destroy every Amalekite
And left
and destroy everything, kids, children, the animals, but he didn't. He kept the good animals, since he's going to sacrifice them to the Lord, and he kept Agag alive. And that's why God disposed Saul, because he partially obeyed his command.
Right.
And because he did that, it allowed some of the Amalekites, maybe some descendants of Agag, to not be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Haman came into the picture, and he is a descendant of
A direct
of
descendant.
Agag.
And I think it's important. My point on Haman's ancestry was going to be this: he came from very godless, bad people.
Bad. The
worst.
only
Right.
people in the history that God pretty much hated, said, get rid of these people.
That's right. And another thing I want you to think about. Okay, I got to bring this up too. I don't know why, but I've been stuck in Samuel for about 6 months.
Me too.
I don't know. I just keep reading it, and I'm actually starting to understand a little bit better now. And if I don't know the words, I just make them up. But anyway, I want you all. Now you remember Ruth, and this is pertinent, and this is nothing to do with Esther right now, okay? But I wanted to point this out to you because I won't get another opportunity if I don't do it. What was Ruth? Does anybody remember what her heritage was? Moabite. That's right. She was a Moabite. If you read this in 2 Samuel, David kills Moabites. And he knows his heritage came from Moabites. I found that interesting. I just wanted to share that, and if you thought it was stupid, I'm sorry. But I mean, studying that, and I knew that, but it never really resonated with me. That was his. Do you remember who she is? Ruth was what to David? Grandmother. And he's out killing these people. So that tells you how bad these people really were. How special Ruth really was. All right. So let's get back in here with Haman. So Haman comes from the worst of the worst. So we expect this behavior from Haman. All right, but Mordecai, I still can't reconcile his behavior. I don't know where it comes from. I don't want to just flat out say Mordecai's being prideful, but I kind of feel that way. Well, does anybody have any take on it?
Well,
Could it be?
I think it's because maybe he knows that Haman is a descendant of Agag. He's an Amalekite.
Right.
Yeah.
And he knows the past that God said you need to wipe these people off the map.
And it makes sense, but he also could have a prejudice against who he is too. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's regarding Daniel and it's regarding him. Would he have bowed to the king, the servant? Did Daniel, think about Daniel, did Daniel actually bow to Nebuchadnezzar?
No, he didn't. He didn't. If you'll recall,
To the king. I know the statue he refused. But
right? But the three guys that went into the fiery furnace, one of them wasn't Daniel, but Daniel was there. We don't really get. I mean, Daniel, Daniel didn't bow to that, but Daniel didn't get thrown in the furnace.
He wasn't mentioned.
But
yeah.
he was there.
Maybe
He had to
was in
be
a
there in the
different province.
timeline. Maybe he wasn't.
I don't know.
Maybe he was setting up by the king. I don't know.
Yeah.
There
I think
were
that's
three of, but all three of those did not obey the
king.
laws.
That's
The
right.
kings
Because
whenever
what
they
was
did
that law though? What did the king demand? What was the demand? You worship.
Yes,
You worship this as you would as your God.
they wouldn't even.
And
eat
they
your
wouldn't
food.
hear of it. And everybody drops, and you've got these guys standing up, and they give them every chance in the world to do it.
But that's what causes me to think
Uh-huh.
that it's just not allowed.
Yes,
Right.
That's
But
just
but
first.
back on Daniel. Daniel did. The king got tricked into doing this thing where they weren't allowed to pray to another god,
Yeah.
and Daniel disobeyed that. That's what got
Oh,
him
yeah.
thrown in the lion's den. But
Modern day,
But
wouldn't
it
that be
could be.
just bowing to like the king and queen of England? If you're a visitor, there's protocols, and that curtsy is a sign of respect, not like a worship sign. So
see,
I
that's
would-
kind of how I look at this.
Yeah,
with
I
you.
would put that.
That's
equate
kind of
that
how
to
I
that.
look at Haman.
Yeah.
Haman being so above Mordecai, royalty, if you will.
I think they just lived in a different culture, and according to the Jews, they were not to bow to anyone else, and I think it's because of his religion that he would.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on.
I agree. And a little bit later, it says it calls him, the Agatite, the enemy of the Jews.
Hmm. Yeah, and he reveals that because of what's getting ready to happen. Let me read on, and then we'll talk. We got a lot to talk about.
Sorry for getting you off.
No, it's fine. That's what we're here to do. We talk about these things. I love it. It takes a lot of pressure off me. My throat's sore. Then Haman said to King Xerxes, "There is a certain people dispersed and scattered among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom, whose customs are different from those of all other people, and who do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will put 10,000 talents of silver into the royal treasury for the men who carry out this business." So the king took his signet ring from his finger, and he gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. "Keep the money," the king said to Haman, "and do with the people as you please." Stop there for 2 seconds. Was the king misled?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In what way was he misled? Was there a people who were disrespecting him, as it were, I guess? There was. So technically, there was one person, not a people, but a person who represented those people. But did Haman do a really good job of selling this to be a whole lot worse than what it was?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he did. And listen, now we get to see the greed that I was talking about with Haman. I tell you what, King, you do this. It'd be a special favor from me. I'm going to give you $1 million if you do it. I'm going to throw $1 million in the treasury if you'll just agree to do this.
375 tons.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean that's $1 million several centuries ago. So what do you reckon it is worth now? A couple billion? But think about that. I'm going to but the king says, you know what? Here's my ring. Do what you want. Do whatever you want, and keep your money. Because I believe in you. The king gives him total trust here. He's been elevated to pretty much the second in command in the kingdom. And the king is so grateful to him. And I believe that's another thing that drives me towards this theory that Haman had thwarted this whole thing about the king getting killed. Who else would turn down billions and billions of dollars?
902 million.
902 million? Thank you. Who would have turned down that kind of money? And where in the world did Haman get it?
Yeah, really.
That's what I want to know. I mean, had they even mined that much silver by then? I mean, think about how much this is insane. But the king says, I don't want your money, but do what you wish. So anyway, do what you want with these people. We don't need them. Let's dispose of them. So now we're getting ready to get into a real issue. Because here's what happens. You know, it's kind of like in our country, sort of, in the way that once a law's passed or once it's put down, there's no going back. See, have you been able to drive without your seatbelt lately? No. I mean, you won't. And if you don't, what happens? You get punished. It'll cost you, that's right. And you shouldn't be driving without it anyway, trust me. But think about this. The king is giving Haman the right to dispose of this whole group of people. And once that's put into motion, it takes, what do you think it's going to take to reverse it?
Probably the king dying.
It's going to take a lot.
And once it's written, it's written.
It's written, and the only thing that can change it, excuse me, is another law on top of that changes the previous law.
And you're talking about a great amount of time to get these out to all the provinces
Yes.
and localities and to get it through the right people. And then even with that, some of those people might continue anyway.
Yeah, and what's his name, Byron? He's going to give us. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you the month in biblical terms, and then he's going to shoot off what month it would really be. All right. So no pressure here, Byron. Make it up if you don't know it, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
I've got October on the mind. I don't know.
All right. Then on the third, let's see. So the king took off his signet ring and gave it to Haman. And keep the money, the king says. And then 12. Then on the 13th day of the first month, the royal secretaries were summoned. They wrote out in the script of each province. Now, that means their own language. Remember, we talked about the language barrier. All right. And these were, let's see, here we go. Wherever. They wrote out in the script of each province and in the language of each people all Haman's orders to the king's satraps. I love that word. The governors of the various provinces and the nobles of the various peoples. These were written in the name of King Xerxes himself and sealed with his own ring. Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old women and little children, on a single day. The 13th day of the 12th month, the month of October, Adar, and to plunder their goods. A copy of the text. We don't know if it's October or not, by the way. You know, it shouldn't be hard to figure out what month that would be, though. I mean, I tried to dig around, but I don't think anybody ever could correlate how they did things. So anyway, the 13th. It's the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. So that is how many months away from when this was written? Anybody know how long, what the time frame would have been? Been almost a year. It's just shy of a year. That's how long it's going to take to get it all out. Okay? So here's what you got to understand. This gets out into all the provinces. The day is planned the 13th of October. The next 13th of October, we get this
February to March.
in November. Huh? What?
Google says it's February to March.
Okay, February or March. Now we're narrowed it down to 10. All right, so whatever it is, we've got about a year to get it all out. Okay? So we get it out. Now, it took us a year to get it out. How long is it going to take us to reverse it if we have to? Probably about a year.
Yeah.
Right there. Just doing the math. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm going to say about the same amount of time. All right, so once this is set, this is a problem. So here's what we got going. Don's over one of the provinces. He's a satrap, and I give Don this thing. Don goes down to his governor, and he says, look, the king says we're killing Jews. Mark your calendar on the 13th day of either October, February, or March. All right, you pick. It's going to be one of those 3 months. We're not sure, but it's going to be one of those 3. All right, so anyway... And get ready, and we don't leave a child, we don't leave a woman, we don't leave a kid, we don't do anything. They're all going to be wiped out. Okay? Set in stone. We put the law up. Now, You're a Jew just coming into town to get you something, right? And you see it posted. You're like, oh my gosh, they're going to kill me in less than a year? Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So now, all these provinces have posted this. Everybody knows what's going to happen. All right? And this is all because of one reason, Haman. Haman's greed over the fact that one man, Mordecai, did I get that right? I think I did.
Yeah.
All right. Did not kneel before him and pay him honor. It makes me ask a question. What in my life lines up with Haman? What is it that I would, or I have in the past, allowed so much control over me? Something that would change who I am, or even cause my death eventually, because I was so nearsighted on it. There's an answer to that for all of us, I think. I really do. And before we start hating on Haman, I think we got to look on that. Now, I waited all night to be able to say that, and I didn't get much of a reaction. Hating on
We're all
Haman.
thinking about the time.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's go on here.
It's kind of like a whatever century Hitler.
It absolutely is.
You know,
It was.
you have to not hate on Haman.
You know what? If Haman would have had his way, it would have been an absolute disaster, wouldn't it? And it was all pushed on this greed. Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old women, and little children on a single day, the 13th day, 12th month of the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality, so they would be ready for that day. Spurred on by the king's command, the couriers went out, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. Stop. Now, my question to you is this. We end all of this with the sentence, the city of Susa was bewildered. Now, why would they be bewildered, do you suppose? Shoot it.
Well, who's next? That's what I'm thinking. If he's gonna do it to these people, for what reason? That's what I'd be thinking, who's next?
Where is the citadel of Susa? Is it in? Is it close to where Xerxes?
No, yeah, that's where he is. He's in that area. Yes, he's in that region. Yes. Which, you know, that's probably north of Israel now, Turkey area. But think about this for a minute. I want to think that Susa is the most populated region of Jews. And I'll tell you why. So I'm American, and I see a law come up that all the Mexicans are going to be exported, or all the immigrants are going to be, or what? Let's just pick a nationality. Well, instead of killed, we're just going to get rid of them, right? Well, listen. Do not. This ain't political, I swear. But I'm just saying. Am I bewildered by the fact that we're getting rid of them, or am I bewildered by the fact that it don't affect me?
Maybe they're bewildered by what brought it on, because they've lived there all this time with no issue, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
we're gonna wipe out an entire nationality in
Right.
1 year. Mark the
Exactly.
day.
Yeah, they're gone. They're
Yeah.
going to be gone. And she makes the best loaf of bread I've ever had.
Yeah. Why?
Who's going to make my bread?
Why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
What brought it on?
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have most of your intelligent, schooled, learned people in that place where he is,
That's
where
right.
the king is. So they're probably sitting there going, What just happened?
And right before that, the king and Haman sat down to drink. Why did you need to know that?
Was the king drunk when he said do it?
No.
Let him do what he wanted.
I mean, might have been, but it doesn't really lead me there. I think the king was just giving Haman full reign because he trusted it. Well, if you know these are bad people, you just say to me, go ahead, get rid of whoever needs to be gotten rid of, right? I trust you. So after you get done with that, come up and let's have a drink. Let's kick back because you're my buddy now because you saved my life.
So he thinks.
But while they're up here in that turret, if you will, having them a nice little glass of whatever they drank back then, down here in Susa, right below them, they're in upheaval because they don't know why this is going to happen. They are absolutely beside themselves because these people are going to be executed. These people are going to be absolutely demolished and put to death. And here's the thing, according to the edict, I could, if I was a citizen and I wasn't Jewish, and God love Nancy here with her bad back, and she's Jewish, I have every right on that day to destroy her. I don't have to be the king's guard. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be anything special.
Oh,
It's a law
so
now.
people can
People
kill the Jews?
just kill the Jews.
Oh.
Because the king has decreed they have to die. So think about that for a second.
Not just by soldiers, but
Now,
by anyone.
now, would you not be a little bewildered if you were ordered that you could kill
Yeah.
whoever you wanted to kill, and the purge would begin?
That's what I'm
I guess.
thinking, the Purge.
Man, we could make a movie.
Yeah.
Name it The Purge. Who could we get to be in it?
Byron.
Byron.
Byron and Nancy.
So here you've got, for the first time we see the king's immediate kingdom a little bit in upheaval. Okay? It seems to me that Xerxes kind of ran a pretty tight ship. It seemed like he wanted people's advice. He wanted to do things that were not perfect, but not right, but not horrible. He wasn't like killing everybody he looked at, but he was trying to be a decent king, I think, by and large. But he's made a crucial error. Now, there's going to come a time here in 4th, and this is an interesting thing because there's going to come a time that the king cannot be approached. Now, remember, the clock's ticking. We've now posted this is the day of the purge. We've posted it. Now the clock's ticking. And you only got so much time if you're going to try to save it, right? So next week, next bat channel or next bat hour, what we'll look at is what we're going to do to try to prevent this from happening. What has to be done? Remember, we have a long way to go and a short time to get there. For all you Smokey the Bandit fans, so we want to preserve the Jews, and you're going to, even though God's name's not mentioned, you're going to get to start seeing God really go to work.
You see him all through the book of Esther.
Oh yeah,
Name's not there.
His name doesn't need to be mentioned to know He's there. Any questions or comments? Pretty interesting, isn't it? Don't you love this book?
Do you think that the king thinks that Haman,
I do that all the time.
that Haman was the one that saved him?
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he does, and I'll tell you why.
Because he just all of a sudden, popped up. It has to be.
He gives him all the credit right now for being alive. I truly believe that. Who has?
Josh has a couple
Oh.
things to say.
What do you want to say, buddy?
He has a couple things, a very intelligent son.
I think you could see very clearly Satan's plot against the Jews, even back then. But to this day, that's their plan, to wipe out the Jews. So
Absolutely.
down through the ages,
Absolutely.
Satan has had this always in the back of his mind, and
Absolutely.
will till the very end.
Yeah.
Kill all the Jews.
Absolutely. And you know why? Here's what we have to understand. God designated these as His people. Satan hates anything that is God. All right? He wants to destroy it. And that includes us. The enemy seeks to devour, destroy, and there's one more word. Kill. I was thinking of another D word. I could have said death or dead, but all right. Any other things? Anybody else have any comments? Read ahead in 4. Stop there though. Don't get too far ahead because this gets really good and we can do it together. Enjoy it together. Next week we're going to see Mordecai has to. I was going to say this and I forgot. Mordecai has to convince Esther to risk her life, her very existence, for the Jews. So, pretty interesting. All right. Anything else? All right. What are we praying about?
Your cousin.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a cousin that went into cardiac arrest yesterday, and today he is not responsible.
Oh.
So they've called the family in.
I have a cousin. His name's Nick. Has testicular cancer, and they found a tumor in his retroperitoneal, which is the back of his cavity down there, and they're going to go remove that on Monday. And they think, unless they run into something that has a good chance of, they have a good shot at being able to cure it. Not just stop it, but to cure it. So he's young. He's maybe 40. And I got, my cousin texted me last night and asked me to put him on the prayer list. His name's Nick Camella. So if y'all could lift him up, it'd be great.
I like that.
Russ has a coworker that beat colon cancer, and now he thinks it's back after many years, so I'm kind of very scared.
What, Josh? Who was that? Josh has somebody in his preschool? Is that right? Yeah. She's sick? Let's remember her.
I have a friend that had a miscarriage about 6 months ago, and she just found out that she's pregnant again. And so she's kind of experiencing some mixed feelings right now. Like, am I allowed to be excited about this? Or do I need to be afraid? And so she has her first appointment on the 20th. We're going to monitor her really closely this go around. But she's really nervous.
Sure. Absolutely.
My ex-sister-in-law fell on the ice and broke her shoulder. Her name is Kathy Greathouse.
Okay. I'd say there's a lot of people that have something broken from this ice.
Yeah.
Especially yesterday, just when you think it's safe.
Yes.
Miranda's dad. You felt today?
Did you look around to see if anybody saw you?
I don't think so.
That's when you fall, you get up and say,
I'm okay, but did anybody see it?
Everybody see it. Miranda's dad's got hip replacement surgery next Thursday. Tuesday. So he went this week and got set up, and they're going to go do that. So pray for him. My dad also, he got a good report from the urologist, like I said before. He had a PET scan yesterday, so we'll have results maybe next day or two to know exactly what's going on. So
Yeah.
keep the
praying.
good,
Yeah.
the good news coming. And,
Absolutely.
Your prayers have been coveted and very well received. So thank you.
You know, I know we're done, but I got to say this. We were talking about greed a minute ago, right? Don't you think sometimes we get a little greedy about our life?
Absolutely. I wonder,
you know what I mean?
wonder a lot of times if it's okay.
I know.
To be greedy about wanting good things for your family and others.
Well, or not even good things, but just greedy in terms of longevity.
Yeah.
Praying that I could live to be 100 and Elaine could live to be 99. You know, I had 1 year. I got just 1 year to get over her. No, I'm kidding. No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sometimes I think about that. It's something I think about because I came in real good contact with mortality. And we should always be there. It shouldn't take a diagnosis to get us there, right? But I just think sometimes, how greedy do we get with just basically wanting to continue to live a life that we ain't even built for.
I agree. I find myself, praying for my dad and for more years before him, and I wonder if that's selfish of me to want that.
I don't think so. I hope not, anyway.
I hope not too, but
Think
if he's
we-
got another plan,
Mhm. I know. Something to think about. All right, Byron, will you pray us out?
let Josh has got it.
Josh, you want to pray us out, buddy? All right, here we go.
Father, thank you again for allowing us to come into your house and to gather together, which we as a church do so frequently. And we just lift you up as we always do. But we just put you up where you deserve to be, because you are the creator of all things. You know all and do all. And we lift up every single prayer request to you. You know them before they even happen. But when you're there, when we're gathered together, and when we ask and pray, we know that you listen. Father, watch over us, guide us, give us discernment to know your truth, and be with us, and let your spirit fill us as we go from here. In your name we pray.
Amen. Josh was amening you all the way through that prayer.
Joey's got a new amen.
It's cute.
Where'd little feller go?
You stand on that cord, I thought about jerking it off real, but I did.
I'd hate to have a hip.
What are you trying to do, run over? I tried to. I tried to get somebody. Bye, Andy.